Mr. Klein's Story Time.
Hello, my name is Mr. Klein. I've been an elementary school teacher for almost 30 years, and I love reading stories to young people just like you. In fact, I've got a great story that I'd like to share with you right now. So let's get started.
Our Friend Hedgehog, The Story of Us, by Lauren Castillo. Hedge Hollow, Beaver's Dam, Hedgehog's Island, Owl's Lookout, Annika May's House, Hen and Chicks Marsh, Mole's Hole. The cast: Beaver, Mutty, Hedgehog, Annika May Flores, Owl, Mole, Hen and Chicks. Introduction. Sometimes you make a friend, and it feels like you've known that friend your entire life. Hedgehog, Muddy, Mole, Owl, Beaver, Hen and Chicks, and me, Annika May. You might think it has always been this way, but it has not. There was a series of events that brought us all together. This is our friendship story. This is the story of us. Chapter 1. At First. Between the great forests, in the center of the river, on a teeny tiny island, lived two dear friends, Hedgehog and Muddy. Just the two of them, and no one else. They spent all their days together. Playing, imagining, dreaming. There were moments when the island felt lonely, and Hedgehog wished for more. But most of the time, she was just happy to be with her friend. That was until the night of the terrible storm, a storm that brought the meanest wind Hedgehog had ever known. It whistled, it huffed. It swooped down and carried her friend away. Chapter 2. Alone. Hedgehog was all alone. She called out for Muddy again and again, but only the mean wind answered. Hedgehog sat and wept, and wept, and wept some more. But crying would not bring Muddy back. She knew what she needed to do. Hedgehog stood up. She stared long and hard at her reflection in the murky river water. She took a deep breath, jumped in, and set off on a journey to find her dear friend. The river was rough, but luckily Hedgehog was a good swimmer. She could swim all the strokes, including the backstroke, which was her favorite. Hedgehog made it safely to the mainland, where the forest began. She had watched the wind carry Muddy in this direction, and she hoped she would find him here, safe among the trees. Hedgehog had seen the forest from her island, but it was even greater and much more frightening now that she was standing in it. An army of trees blew and swayed and cast their scary shadows over her, but she would not show her fear. Hedgehog stood up tall and marched along, calling Muddy's name whenever she heard a sound. She marched and marched, called and called again. Not a Muddy in sight. In this big foreign place, Hedgehog felt smaller than ever before. She missed her tiny island, but she had to keep going. She searched under ferns and in clusters of mushrooms. Then she climbed onto a stump to get a better view. Most things in the forest reminded Hedgehog of her friend, but a passing butterfly made her saddest of all. It was beginning to get dark, and still there was no sign of Mutty. Hedgehog scouted out a safe place to rest until she could continue her search in the morning. She had just found a nice cozy pile of leaves when down, 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 into a hole she plunged. Chapter 3. Mole. Splash! Hedgehog landed in a big puddle of muck. When her eyes adjusted to the dark, she realized she was not alone.
"Good heavens!"
shrieked a voice. A stranger! Hedgehog gasped and shot up out of the mud. She was standing face to face with the most wiggly creature she had ever seen. Who are you?"
"Oh, bonjour, dearie,"
said the voice.
"Hello there. My name is Mole. Welcome to my home."
Mole wiggled closer to Hedgehog.
"Are you okay? Are you lost?"
Hedgehog tried to respond, but Mole's bright apron captured her attention. The stripy pattern blurred in Hedgehog's teary eyes, and she collapsed into a puddle of sadness. She was too sad to even speak.
"There, my dearie. It will be okay."
Hedgehog looked up at Mole. I lost my best friend," she whimpered.
"I am sorry."
Mole patted Hedgehog on the back.
"I will help you find your friend."
Mole brought Hedgehog a cup of horchata, her favorite milky drink, and the two sat side by side in silence. After a while, Hedgehog was ready to tell Mole what had happened to poor Mutty. About the whistling wind and her long, hard journey traveling across the river and through the trees. "I have never, ever been without Mutty, and he has never been without me," Hedgehog explained. "We need each other." Mole was a very good listener. She nodded in all the right places and rested a comforting paw on Hedgehog's quills. It felt good to have someone to talk to in this big, scary forest. "Thank you, Mole," Hedgehog sighed. "I'm glad I fell into your home."
"I'm glad you stopped by,"
said Mole.
"I love visitors. I'm only sorry my home is such a mess. It's more like a rat's nest than a mole's hole ever since the storm. I was just tidying up when you arrived."
Mole wiggled backward, knocking over an acorn cap that was collecting tiny drips of water from the ceiling. "Here, let me help you," offered Hedgehog. The two sopped up the puddles together, and soon Mole's home was as good as new.
"I have come up with a plan, dearie,"
announced Mole.
"I will take you to Owl at Lookout Point. Owl has sharp eyes, and he can help us find your friend. We should travel by tunnel. It's the safest route."
Hedgehog was nervous about traveling in a tunnel, but she trusted her new friend. "Lead the way, Mole." And Hedgehog followed Wiggly Mole through the tunnel toward the other side of the forest. "You are brave to travel so far from home," Hedgehog shouted up to Mole.
"Oh, I love to travel,"
said Mole.
"but sometimes it's lonely underground. It's very nice to have company."
Hedgehog still missed poor Mutty, but this adventure with Mole brought her a bit of cheer. "It is nice to have company," she agreed. Chapter 4. Owl. When Mole and Hedgehog arrived at Lookout Point, it was nearly daybreak. The tired pair wiggled out of Mole's tunnel and right into a patch of fog, but the fog was no match for Owl's sharp eyes. "Hooty hoot! Who goes there?" called Owl. Owl never missed a trick.
Guten Tag, Owl. Good day, said Mole. This is my new friend, Hedgehog. She needs our help.
Help? Owl picked up. What kind of help? I lost my friend in the... Hedgehog trailed off, beginning to weep again. Ooh, foggy weather is terrible for hide and seek, my little hoglet. Mole spoke up for Hedgehog.
We are not playing hide and seek, Owl. We're talking about a friend in peril.
Peril, Owl pondered. You mean very serious and immediate danger. Well, I do happen to have fast wings and excellent eyes. Maybe I can help. Which way did your friend go? I don't know, Hedgehog sobbed. Mole put her arm around Hedgehog and told Owl all about what had happened to Mutty. Whoa, what does your friend look like? Asked Owl. He pulled out a pen and notebook, ready to take notes. I can draw him, said Hedgehog. Hedgehog borrowed Owl's pen and notebook. Most of the pages were full of cheerful-looking pictures and words, but she found a blank page toward the back and carefully sketched a portrait of Mutty. Hedgehog liked to draw in the sand on her island, so she was pretty good at it. This drawing is in black, but he wears red and white and gray and orange, Hedgehog explained. Ooh, well, look at that, said Owl as he examined the drawing. Finding him will be a true challenge in this weather, but I'm up for it. Oh, thank you, said Hedgehog. Thank you, Owl. Let me gather my ideas, said Owl, and he flew into the fogging sky, making circles around Lookout Point and humming an idea-gathering tune. I've got it, Owl exclaimed. We will follow the stream to the Beaver Dam. All kinds of things get trapped in that dam. Maybe the storm is taking your friend there.
Good idea, Owl,
cheered Mole. Oh, I know, said Owl, beginning to fly upstream. I'll meet you two at the Beaver Dam. Mole and Hedgehog jumped into the tunnel and sped after him, practically flying underground. Chapter 5. Beaver. By the time Mole and Hedgehog emerged from the tunnel, the fog was beginning to clear. Owl was telling Beaver about their quest to find Mutty. Beaver was busy rebuilding his dam, though, and he didn't seem very interesting. Wretched storm ruined my masterpiece, Beaver grumbled. Beaver, cried Owl, I'm trying to show you something. He waved the notebook in Beaver's face. Have you seen this fella? Have you noticed anything out of the ordinary that might help us find him? Nope, said Beaver as he reached for a piece of red fabric. Mutty! Shrieked Hedgehog. Where? Owl and Mole jumped. It's Mutty's scarf. Hedgehog pointed at the red scarf, which Beaver was now tying neatly about his neck. Huh? Nope. Beaver waved them off. This is my scarf. I found it, and now it's mine. Beaver, cried Owl, you just said you hadn't seen anything out of the ordinary. Well, I forgot, huffed Beaver. Now leave me alone. We're not going anywhere without that scarf, screeched Owl. Well, I'm not taking it off, Beaver grumbled. My neck is cold, and plus, look how dapper I am. He fluffed up his fur and adjusted the scarf just so. Owl got right in Beaver's face. You have two choices, Beaver. Either give us that scarf or come help us. Beaver snorted. I don't have to do either of those things. Owl narrowed his eyes. I will come along, but only 'cause I feel like it, not 'cause you said, Beaver added quickly. "Thank you, Beaver," said Hedgehog, "and you do look dapper in Muddy's scarf." Beaver looked away, a blush rising to his chubby cheeks. "Like I said."
"Dapper."
Owl looked Beaver up and down.
"Neat and trim in appearance." "Now, where did you find the scarf?"
asked Hedgehog. "Over at the marsh near Hen's house, when I was—"
"Then that's where we'll go next," Owl interrupted. "Let's get moving."
Beaver examined the ground. "It's too muddy to walk. We'll have to take my raft." Hedgehog looked at Mole, who was wiggling more than usual.
"It's okay, Mole. Hold my paw."
"But I'm afraid of the water,"
Mole whispered.
"Can't we take the tunnel?"
"If you fall in, I promise to save you. I'm a good swimmer."
And the whole crew piled onto Beaver's raft. The water was still very choppy from the storm, and the raft rocked this way and that. Poor Mole clung to the boards, wiggling with fear.
"Holy Toledo!" she cried. "Of all my voyages, this one might be the scariest yet."
"Slow down, Beaver," Hedgehog pleaded. "Not everyone can swim."
At that moment, Beaver steered right into a rock, knocking Mole and Hedgehog into the stream. The current whipped them about, but Hedgehog was able to keep Mole's snout above water. Beaver held out his paddle. "Grab on!" he called. They did as they were told, and Beaver pulled them aboard.
"Ooh, you better be more careful, Beaver,"
Owl screeched. "Everyone is back on the raft, aren't they?" said Beaver. For the rest of the ride, Hedgehog held on to poor shivery Mole, this time patting her on the back. Chapter 6. Hen and Chicks. Beaver rode up to the edge of the marsh and helped his passengers out one by one. "I found the red scarf right there," Beaver pointed. The marsh was littered with all kinds of trash that the wind had blown in during the terrible storm. There were bottles and cans, a pizza box with some uneaten crust, a rotten apple core, some playing cards, and plenty of other curious objects.
"Everyone spread out, and we'll search the wetland for Hedgehog's friend,"
called Owl. The crew did as Owl said. They looked under branches, in bushes, around the tall marsh grass. They found a snapping turtle, 3 slimy snails, and a school of small fish, but no Mutty.
"Beep, beep, beep."
2 peeping chicks bounced out of the brush and caught Hedgehog by surprise. Chick 1 bounced off Beaver's tail. Chick 2 followed right behind. "Ow!" Beaver grunted.
"Hola! Hello, lively little chicks!"
Mole said with a smile.
"Ooh, Chicks!" called Owl. "Chicks, where is your mom? We have a very important matter to discuss with her." "Beep!"
Chick 2 bounced off Chick 1.
"Beep, beep!"
Chick 1 bounced off Chick 2, and the 2 leap-chicked right back into the brush. "For Pete's sakes!" groaned Beaver.
"Let's follow them," said Mole. "I'm sure Hen is close by."
They followed the peeps through the brush. On the other side they found Hen, pecking through the storm trash.
"Salam, Hen,"
called Mole.
"Oh, hello, Mole. Hello, Beaver and Owl."
Hen looked at Hedgehog.
And, hello, pointy creature I don't know. I'm out collecting storm treasure. Would you look at this?"
Hen balanced a piece of treasure on her head.
"A crown!"
"Nope, nope, that's a bottle top," said Beaver. Hen ignored him.
"Well, how about this one? Pirate's booty, and new out for the chicks' room."
Hedgehog's eyes widened. It was a picture of a house, but in front of the house was a familiar face.
"Mutty!"
she shrieked.
"What is it this time?"
asked Owl.
The picture,"
Hedgehog stuttered. "Mutty is in the picture."
"Our new friend Hedgehog lost her old friend Mutty,"
Mole explained to Hen, who was looking confused.
"But how did your friend get in my art?"
asked Hen.
"It's a photograph," Owl said. "A picture made using a camera." "Who took the picture?"
asked Hedgehog.
"I think that's what we're all wondering,"
Owl said.
"Well, I don't know who took the picture, but I do know this house."
Hen pointed.
You do?"
Hedgehog perked up.
"Yes, indeed. I can take you there if you like." "Oh, yes, please!"
cried Hedgehog.
"Wonderful!"
Whooped Owl.
"How terrific!"
Cheered Mole. How far is it? Grumbled Beaver.
"It's through the marsh, at the top of Tall Hill. I think a new family just moved in," Hen announced. "I can show you, but will you help carry my treasures?" "Sure," said Owl. "Just be careful with the notebook." "What notebook?"
Hen wondered aloud as she stowed her booty in Owl's empty bag. But the others were already marching toward Tall Hill, and the notebook was soon forgotten. Chapter 7. Annika May Flores. Annika May was photographing her new backyard when she saw the parade of animals approaching. There was a hen, 2 chicks, a beaver, an owl, a mole, and a hedgehog, and they were headed toward her house. She hadn't had any visitors since the move. She snapped a quick photo, then ran down Tall Hill to greet them.
"Hello,"
Annika May called.
"Hooty hoot, hello."
Owl called back.
"My name is Annika May. What are your names?" "I am Owl,"
said Owl.
"This here is Hen, and those are her chicks peeping about. Over there is Mole, wiggling next to Hedgehog."
I'm Young. Hello there.
Mole waved.
"Oh, and Beaver is back by the rock, preening, or devoting effort to make oneself look attractive."
We are hoping you can help us with something, por favor,"
Mole said, tugging the art treasure out of Owl's bag.
"My Polaroid!"
Annika May exclaimed.
Polaroid?"
Stuttered Hedgehog.
"His name isn't Polaroid, it's Mutty."
Oh no, I mean the picture is called a Polaroid. It was taken with my Polaroid camera. Annika May held up the camera around her neck and snapped a quick shot of Hedgehog. See? She placed a new Polaroid on the ground. All the animals gathered round to watch as a picture of Hedgehog magically appeared.
"This is your Polaroid?"
Hedgehog was confused.
"Then maybe you know where the dog in the picture is."
Is that your dog? Asked Annika May. Maybe you could describe him a little more. Does he have the softest fuzz you ever felt?
"Yes,"
said Hedgehog. Does he have eyes the color of midnight?
"Yes."
And a chocolate brown stitched nose?
"Yes."
Annika May grinned as she reached into her overalls pocket.
"Is it this dog?" "Mutty!"
Hedgehog screamed with glee. Hedgehog gave her best friend the biggest hug in the whole wide world. She could tell Mutty had missed her too.
"I found him at the edge of the stream last night," said Annika May. "He was all covered in mud, so I carried him home and cleaned him up. It was nice having company in that big house."
Hedgehog knew Mutty was the best company. She couldn't stop smiling as she held Muddy's soft, clean paws in hers.
Thank you for rescuing my best friend, Annika May.
You're welcome, little hedgehog. I hope you don't mind if I keep this Polaroid. It must have fallen out of my knapsack when I was searching for my notebook.
Of course, Hen said. I collected other treasures today.
Did you ever find your notebook? Asked Hedgehog. No, sighed Annika May. I left it out in the yard before the storm yesterday, and I think it may be gone for good. It was filled with stories I wrote about my old home with my friends Josie and Mateo. They live very far away now, almost 6 hours by plane. Hedgehog heard the sadness in Annika May's voice and hugged Muddy to her chest.
I'll help you look for your notebook, Annika May,
said Hedgehog.
We're very good at finding important things, dearie,
said Mole, standing up tall.
Now, what does the notebook look like?
Thank you, Annika May smiled. It's bright red, with words and pictures inside. Hedgehog and Mole looked at Owl, who was unusually quiet.
That sounds like your notebook, Owl, said Beaver.
Oh, Owl said. Well, I do have an awful lot of books. I must have picked it up, thinking it was one of mine.
You found my notebook?
Annika May jumped up and down.
Well, I did find it.
Owl was emptying his bag now. There was Hen's pirate's booty and Owl's pen, and not a thing more.
But it seems to be lost again,
he finished.
Nope, grumbled Beaver. It's right where you left it, on top of my dam.
I'll go get your notebook, Annika May,
announced Hedgehog. She could picture exactly where Owl had set it down.
You saved my best friend, and now I want to save your notebook. Don't be silly, said Owl. You can't fly there like I can. I will get the notebook.
Hedgehog puffed her quills.
I can't fly, but I can swim.
She sat Muddy down next to Annika May.
You stay here with your new friends, Muddy. I will be back soon.
And Hedgehog took off toward the stream. Chapter 8. The Notebook. Hedgehog swam swiftly upstream. As she approached the dam, she spotted the notebook, exactly where Beaver had said it would be. She climbed up the newly built dam, stepping carefully on one shifting branch and then the next until she got to the top. Hedgehog reached for the notebook, but it didn't budge. She tugged harder, still stuck. She grabbed the notebook with both paws, leaned back, and tugged with all her hedgehoggy might. Whoosh! The notebook went flying through the air, and in the same instant there came a terrible groan as the dam collapsed beneath Hedgehog's feet. Splash! Crash! All of Beaver's carefully chosen branches went tumbling downstream, along with Hedgehog and the now very soggy notebook. Hedgehog fought to keep herself above the rapids, bobbing up and down like a buoy. Every time she got close to the notebook, the water pulled her under and she lost sight of it again. "Help! Help!" Hedgehog cried out, but water rushed into her mouth, and the sound that came out was more like "Hoggle! Woggle!" As the rough waters carried her away, she had a dreadful thought. What if she drifted so far that she couldn't find her way back? What if she never saw Muddy again? And what about Mole, and Beaver, and Owl, Hen and Chicks, and Annika May? She had only just met them, but it was horrible to imagine a life without them. Was this how Annika May had felt when she moved away from her old friends? "Calamity!" She heard a familiar screech from far away. "Calamity, Annika May! A disaster!" It was Owl. She was not alone. That thought gave Hedgehog a boost of super hedgehoggy strength. She didn't know if she could rescue the notebook, but she wasn't going to lose her friends. Hedgehog saw a large rock in the middle of the stream. If she could guide herself to it, maybe she could get her quills above water. She reached for a thick piece of bark and used it as a kickboard, flutter-kicking her hind legs as fast as she could. With the last of her strength, she lunged forward onto the rock.
Little hedgehog, we're coming for you. Don't let go of that rock.
Hedgehog shifted her weight to get a better grip, and her paw landed on the red notebook. Somehow it had washed up right beside her. Annika May was swimming toward Hedgehog with determined strokes. Hedgehog reached for the notebook to hand it to Annika May, but without hesitating, Annika May scooped up Hedgehog instead. Beaver popped up behind her and grabbed the notebook. Together, the three of them waded to the riverbank, Hedgehog safely tucked in Annika May's arms. Mole, Mutty, and Hen and Chicks watched in suspense. Owls circled overhead. "Hooray!" cheered the friends when Annika May, Hedgehog, and Beaver returned to shore, and everyone piled into one big hug.
You scared us, Hedgehog,
Owl screeched. Annika May dropped to the ground with relief.
Phooey, little Hedgehog.
Great grasshoppers, you had us worried,
said Mole.
Yes, beep, beep, beep,
Hen and Chicks chimed in. Hey, what about my dam? Griped Beaver.
Beaver,
scolded Owl. I'm glad you didn't drown, Beaver mumbled. Hedgehog grinned. She was lucky to have such brave friends. Chapter 9. Us. The Beginning. Hedgehog walked over to the red notebook drying in the sun in Annika May's backyard. It wasn't looking so great. The pages were dirty, and some were torn. The writing was faded and smudged. What a mess. She looked up at Annika May, who was wiping a tear from her eye.
I'm sorry, Annika May,
Hedgehog said with an unsteady voice.
I ruined your notebook.
Don't be silly. You didn't ruin my notebook, Hedgehog.
Yes, I did. If I hadn't tried to pull it out of the dam, none of this would have happened. Hedgehog, you were very brave to try and save my notebook. You put yourself at risk. I'm just glad you're okay.
Hedgehog flipped through the red notebook again. The writing was faded, but maybe she could trace over the letters. The pages were torn, but maybe she could tape them back together.
Maybe we can fix it,
she said.
We could try,
said Annika May. She disappeared into the house, and when she returned, she was carrying a big bag of art supplies. There were 100 different colors of markers, tiny tubes of brightly colored paint, pawfuls of crayons and colored pencils, small brushes and big ones, jars of glitter, scissors and glue, and more tools still that none of them could name.
Beep, beep, beep.
The chicks started poking their beaks into the pile and took off with a couple of crayons.
Well, come back here, naughty chicks,
clucked Hen, and she went chasing after them. Beaver couldn't contain himself either. He had already built a tiny house out of popsicle sticks and was now tangled up in 3 colors of ribbon for some reason. Hedgehog grabbed an inky blue pen from the pile.
I bet you are a very good writer, Annika May,
she said, starting to trace the letters. She couldn't read them, but she knew how to follow the lines.
Thank you, said Annika May, but I didn't write these stories on my own. I wrote them with the help of my old friends. We had great adventures together.
Hedgehog closed her eyes and thought about all that she had been through with Mutty. said Mole, pulling her snout out of a jar of glitter.
Maybe you could write some new stories with your new friends, dearie.
My new friends, Annika May smiled. I like the sound of that. Hedgehog looked around the backyard at Mutty, Mole, Owl, Beaver, Hen and Chicks, and Annika May. She could feel her heart expanding in her chest.
So do I,
Hedgehog said. Then she opened the notebook to a blank page and handed it to Annika May.
What are we waiting for?
The end.
Thank you for coming to Storytime. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I read new stories every week, so be sure to hit the subscribe button if you'd like to hear another one. Hope to see you again soon.